Malaysia hit a historic political milestone today when the Dewan Rakyat passed a constitutional amendment relating to anti-party hopping. The bill, which required two-thirds or 148 votes from 222 parliamentary seats in the Dewan Rakyat, received an overwhelming 209 votes.
Al-Alian Muhammad, inilah keputusannya. Syabas kepada semua ahli-ahli berhormat yang mencipta sejarah hari ini. Undi yang bersetuju 209. Tak hadir 11. Maka lebih 2/3 undi majoriti yang bersetuju.
The two-thirds majority support was received both during the second and third reading of the bill. In his winding-up speech, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar explained that an MP who exits a political party in a coalition and then joins another party in the same coalition, he or she would cease to be a member of the House.
Ini kerana keanggotaan seorang ahli Dewan Rakyat merujuk kepada keanggotaan dalam sebuah parti politik dan tidak kira sama ada parti politik itu merupakan anggota sebuah parti gabungan atau tidak. Selain itu, keanggotaan seorang ahli Dewan Rakyat juga merujuk kepada seorang ahli Dewan Rakyat bukan anggota mana-mana parti.
He added for MPs who initially contested under the ticket of a political party but later on decided to become independent, it would also be defined as party hopping. Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Junaidi also clarified several instances that would be exception from the definition of party hopping. He said MPs will not lose their seats when their political party is dissolved or deregistered, as well as MPs who are sacked from political parties and who votes against their party's wishes. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Junaidi said the bill will be tabled at Dewan Negara on 9th August and is expected to be authorised on the first week of September. In effort to ensure a bright future for children living under the Welfare Department or JKM's institutions, the government has created a task force comprising various government agencies to provide a special pathway for these children to further their studies in the field of skills or academics. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Semasa said this is because children aged 18 and above will no longer come under the responsibility of JKM, which led to them dropping out of learning institutions. In a statement issued after chairing the first 2022 meeting of the National Social Council today, the Premier said the government takes seriously the question of empowering leavers of JKM to ensure the future of the group. He said government-linked companies, GLC, would be responsible for providing funds for their education and accommodation and career pathway, while the National Welfare Foundation, YKN, would be the guarantor to assist children who are without documents with the cooperation of the National Registration Department. He said Social Security Organisation, SAHIH, and Majlis Amanah Rakyat, MARA, have the roles to provide training and employment opportunities after they complete their studies, while all assistance would be coordinated by the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry. Datuk Seri Semasa said the meeting today also agreed to create a gender focal team, GFT, in each ministry and agency in the effort to explore the potential of women in the economy and put gender in the mainstream in every planning, policy implementation and initiative. He said GFT would have at least 7 members to coordinate and implement the initiative to achieve gender equality. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister said a cyber security awareness master plan will be launched to combat cyber fraud cases as the level of awareness is still low among members of the community on online fraud risks. He said the initiative is aimed at creating knowledgeable and responsible cyber citizens, as well as protecting the people from falling prey to cyber criminals. From 2016 to 2021, it was reported that there were almost 82,000 cases of cyber frauds, involving losses amounting to 2.21 billion ringgit. Indonesia will lift its restrictions on the entry of its workforce into Malaysia by 1st August. Both countries also agreed to integrate the existing system between the Malaysian Immigration Department and the Indonesian Embassy in Kuala Lumpur for the recruitment of Indonesian domestic workers, or PDI. Human Resources Minister Datuk Seri M. Saravanan, in a joint statement with Indonesia's Minister of Manpower, Ida Fauzia, said the integration of this system will act as a single channel for the recruitment and entry of PDI into Malaysia, as agreed in the previous Memorandum of Understanding (MOU). The system will be operational in 3 more weeks under the supervision of the Malaysia-Indonesia Joint Working Group. A pilot project will be implemented for a period of 3 months once the system's integration is completed to ensure the smooth execution. Datuk Seri M. Saravanan was in Jakarta in conjunction with the meeting of the Joint Working Group between Malaysia and Indonesia, as outlined in the MOU regarding the PDI, which was completed yesterday. In other news, the notification rate for hepatitis B and C mortality in Malaysia shows an increase to 0.16 and 0.27 per 100,000 persons respectively in 2021, compared with only 0.13 and 0.19 per 100,000 persons reported in 2015. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the notification rate for new cases of hepatitis C also showed an increase to 8.59 per 100,000 persons in 2021, compared with 6.9 per 100,000 persons in 2015. However, Khairi said the notification rate for new cases of hepatitis B dropped to 11.6 persons per 100,000 population last year, compared with 12.2 persons in 2015. In a statement in conjunction with the World Hepatitis Day 2022 today, the minister noted that the increase in new cases of hepatitis C is a result of the increased awareness of the public to undergo screening tests, especially among at-risk individuals. The increase also occurred following the implementation of targeted screening at health facilities, prison institutions, and the National Anti-Drug Agency (AADK), as well as the health campaigns carried out. In this regard, Khairi advises the public, especially those at risk, not to delay undergoing screening tests and early detection that can prevent infection complications, such as severe liver disease and liver cancer, and subsequent death. Police have finished recording the statements of 15 individuals, including family members and friends, in relation to the mysterious case of 2 teenagers found dead in a multi-purpose vehicle MPV in the car park of a condominium in Bandar Seri Permaisuri Cheras in May. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Dato' Azmi Abu Qasim said that based on the statements recorded, it was established that the 2 teenagers had no connection with any of the residents of the condominium, nor the owner of the parking lot.
Keterangan lah. Sebab dia family ni di 2 lokasi berbeza. Kemudian mangsa juga berada di lokasi yang berbeza. Jadi banyak keterangan yang kita perlu ambil lah, untuk melengkapkan kesaksian kita lah.
He added, the police is still in the process of completing the investigation into the background of the 2 teenagers and their circumstances, apart from waiting for the medical report into the cause of death. He also said the information and investigation are necessary to obtain a conclusion of the case before completing the investigation papers to be handed to the Deputy Public Prosecutor. He said this at a press conference after the presentation of the Kuala Lumpur Police Contingent's Pingat Jasa Pahlawan Negara (PJPN) Awards at the Police Training Centre, Pulapol, today. Police have completed their investigation into the #Turun protests in front of a shopping complex in Kuala Lumpur last Saturday and will submit the investigation paper to the Deputy Public Prosecutor tomorrow. Dangwangi Police Chief ACP Nur Delhan Yahaya said police had recorded statements from 27 individuals believed to have participated in the protests.
Masih lagi di bawah terhadap saya tengok arahan
He was met after the investiture of the Jasa Pahlawan Negara Award to recipients from the Kuala Lumpur Police Contingent at the Police Training Centre. Last Saturday, over 100 individuals gathered in front of the shopping complex while holding banners and placards before they were dispersed at about 3 p.m. And still to come, special permit for buying more than 20 litres of petrol and diesel in drums. Stay with us. But first, various measures have been taken by the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, KBDN-HEP, to curb the leakage of chicken and egg supply in the market. This includes observation made on 20 chicken suppliers to detect any disruption of chicken supply. According to Minister Dr. Sri Alexander Nantalingi, KBDN-HEP has drafted an action plan to tackle the issue of chicken shortage.
Sebagai kementerian yang bertanggungjawab untuk memastikan bekalan ayam dan telur kembali stabil, Kementerian Perdagangan Dalam Negeri dan Hal Orang Pengguna akan terus mengadakan sesi libat urus bersama pemain industri dan agensi-agensi kerajaan yang terlibat bagi mengenal pasti punca dan untuk mencari kaedah penyelesaian yang adil dan kondusif bagi memastikan isu kekurangan bekalan ayam atau telur ayam ketika ini dapat diatasi segera.
The minister said this in response to a question asked by Pasir Gudang MP Hassan Abdul Karim in the Dewan Rakyat today. On Malaysia's dependency on chicken imports, Dato' Sri Nanta said the ministry is discussing with relevant agencies to solve the matter. He added that several steps are being taken to ensure Malaysia no longer depends on chickens imported from other countries in the future. On a separate matter, small-scale companies and organizations as well as individuals wanting to buy petrol and diesel for personal use using drums or any suitable containers in quantities exceeding 20 litres are required to apply for a special permit under the Control of Supplies Act 1961. Dato' Sri Nanta said purchases under 20 litres, including emergency cases, are allowed without the special permit. In a statement today, Dato' Sri Nanta said the Control of Supplies Act 1961 states that petrol stations must have a license to sell petrol and diesel. The petrol stations are also not allowed to sell diesel and petrol of all grades, except when it is filled into the original tank of the vehicle, which has been approved by the relevant agency and parties authorized by KBDN-HEP. He said those authorized to buy petrol and diesel through the special permit can use drums or any suitable containers according to the daily quantity approved. Among those granted a special permit are forklift drivers, those involved in the agriculture and livestock sectors, food industry operators, rural residents, users of water transportation, as well as part-time fishermen. The application for the special permit can be submitted through the My Subsidy Special Permit system at the website as shown on your screen or any KBDN-HEP office, and approval will be granted in less than 7 days without any fees. The government has agreed to continue implementing the Home Ownership Campaign or HOC for first home buyer worth below 500,000 ringgit until 31st December 2025. To date, 117,538 home units were sold under the campaign, involving 92.5 billion ringgit of sales value after a whopping discount of 15.8 billion ringgit.
HOC dilancarkan dalam tahun 2019 dan tamat pada 31 Disember 2021. Untuk makluman Yang Berhormat juga, kerajaan telah bersetuju untuk meneruskan kempen pemilikan rumah dengan memperkenalkan Home Ownership Program HOP yang telah dilancarkan oleh Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri pada 15 Julai 2022 yang lalu, yang merupakan pendekatan yang lebih komprehensif bagi melihat ekosistem keseluruhan perumahan menerusi 4 komponen utama iaitu penyediaan perumahan, pembiayaan, program dan polisi.
For the record, There were 35,592 unsold home units worth about 22.45 billion ringgit in the first quarter this year. The figure decreased from 36,863 unsold home units worth 22.79 billion ringgit, which were recorded in the fourth quarter of 2021. Malaysia's participation in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF, will be able to lessen the effect of Withhold Release Order, or WRO, issued by the United States of America to Malaysian companies. Senior Minister of International Trade and Industry, Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmin Ali, said through IPEF, Malaysia will be able to forge cooperation and discussion with USA to reduce the impact of WRO.
Sebab itu kita berhadapan dengan isu withhold release order di mana mereka telah mengeluarkan 6 WRO terhadap syarikat-syarikat tempatan dan ini akan mengekang ekspor produk-produk dan perkhidmatan Malaysia ke Amerika Syarikat. Dan saya percaya dengan adanya instrumen yang baru ini kita boleh menjalin kerjasama, perbincangan, engagement dengan Amerika Syarikat supaya mengurangkan kesan WRO dan juga isu-isu yang terkait dengan perkara tersebut.
IPEF is a trading initiative that will become a platform for Malaysia to strengthen its economic cooperation with countries in Indo-Pacific and ASEAN region. Malaysia's external trade has surpassed the 2 trillion ringgit mark for the first time in 2021, a 24.9% increase year-on-year versus a 3.3% decrease in 2020. Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Muhammad Uzair Mahirin said exports rose 26.1% to 1.2 trillion ringgit due to significant performances of both domestic exports and re-exports. In a statement, Datuk Seri Muhammad Uzair said domestic exports hit the 1 trillion mark for the first time, increasing 26.6% year-on-year, while re-exports went up 24% to 229 billion ringgit. He noted that imports in 2021 also recorded a growth of 23.3% to hit the highest value of 987.3 billion ringgit. The rise in exports was mainly due to higher exports to China, which grew 20.9%, following robust liquefied natural gas (LNG) exports and metal and electrical and electronics (E&E) products. Meanwhile, exports to India grew by 48.7%, underpinned by robust palm oil exports and palm oil-based agricultural products. As for the rise in imports, this was driven by higher imports from China, with an increased value of 56.8 billion ringgit, driven by higher imports of E&E, as well as chemical and chemical products. Hundreds aftershocks shakes northern Philippines. There are more coming up in the foreign segment. Anxious residents slept outside after hundreds of aftershocks rattled the earthquake-hit northern Philippines as President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. inspected damage in the region. A local disaster official said the death toll rose to 6 today when a 59-year-old man was hit by a landslide caused by an aftershock. The 7.0 magnitude quake rippled across the mountainous area, toppling buildings, triggering landslides, and shaking high-rise towers hundreds of kilometers away in the capital, Manila. The local resident said aftershocks happen almost every 20 minutes, 15 minutes since yesterday. Marcos Jr. has urged people to wait for their homes to be inspected before moving back. A state of calamity was declared in Abra, which felt the full force of the quake, enabling the government to tap funds for the response effort. Director of the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology said aftershocks were expected to continue for, quote, several weeks, then hopefully it will decline afterwards. In Vigan City, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and tourist destination in Ilocos Sur province, centuries-old structures built during the Spanish colonial period were damaged. 460 buildings in the province had been affected, including the Bantai Bell Tower, which partially crumbled. Shell today reported a second quarter profit of $11.5 billion, smashing its previous record just 3 months earlier, lifted by a tripling of refining profits and strong gas trading. Shell's second quarter adjusted earnings rose to $11.47 billion, above the $11 billion forecast by analysts in a poll provided by the company. The company also announced a share buyback program of $6 billion for the current quarter, but did not raise its dividend of 25 cents per share. It said shareholder returns would remain in excess of 30% of cash flow from operating activities. The company said Shell's strong results reflected higher energy prices and refining margins, as well as strong gas and power trading, but were partly offset by lower LNG trading results. A rapid recovery in demand following the end of pandemic lockdowns and a surge in energy prices, driven by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, have boosted profits for energy companies after a 2-year slump. Shell shares were up 0.9% at the opening of trading in London. Smoke billows from huge swathes of land in Hrensko, a municipality in the Czech Republic on the northern border with Germany. Fires have broken out across the Bohemian Switzerland National Park after record temperatures for the region were broken earlier in the week. The cross-border park is home to rare species such as the Eurasian lynx and the peregrine falcon. More than 30 penguins are seen dead, trapped in the artisanal fishing nets on the shore of a beach in the region of Maldonado, Uruguay. The director of the organization SOS Rescate Fauna Marina, who warned of the findings, says that since the beginning of the year, many dead animals, including turtles, sea lions and cetaceans, have started to appear on these Uruguayan shores. These include hundreds of penguins in the last 15 days. House of the Dragon creators and stars were eager to leave behind the difficult final season of Game of Thrones as they launched its prequel at a glittering world premiere in Los Angeles. Set years earlier in the same universe of George R.R. Martin's fantasy books, House of the Dragon depicts the glory days of the ancestors of popular Thrones characters. And in sports, 4-time champion Vettel to retire from Formula One. Stay with us. But first, in local football, despite without the main 11 players, Negeri Sembilan FC and SFC still put on a great show in their Super League match against Terengganu FC at the Tuanku Abdul Rahman Stadium, Paroi. Head coach Kate Evan hailed the high commitment of his players in defeating Terengganu FC 2-1 and enabling his side to occupy third position in the league. Negeri Sembilan import winger Yashir Pinto scored the opening goal in the 17th, but TFC only needed 2 minutes to equalise with Cheche Kipre's finish in the 19th minute. Goalkeeper Muhammad Rahadi Azli Rahalim's mistake in handling the ball saw Gustavo dos Santos taking advantage and scoring Negeri Sembilan's winning goal in the 52nd minute.
Dan kita berjaya menjaringkan 2 gol dan dapat 3 poin di tempat home. Memang semua tanda-tanda yang positif, walaupun kita sudah lama tak bermain kompetitif match berbanding dengan Terengganu lepas bermain beberapa game dan juga mereka match fitness mereka dan juga tempo serta intensity saya rasa mereka lebih baik berbanding dengan kita.
Khairi berjaya untuk melakukan satu
Defensive errors continued to be the bane of Kelantan United FC, KUFC, as they were held to a draw by FAM MSN Project squad in their Premier League match at Stadium Sultan Muhammad IV. KUFC chief coach Shamsul Saad said he was very concerned about this as the team prepare for their remaining matches of the league in a bid to gain promotion to the Super League next season. Defensive errors. KUFC fell behind in the 6th minute from an own goal by imported defender Shuhei Fukai of Japan, before striker Muhammad Haziq Muhammad Sobri drew level for them in the 52nd minute. Shamsul Saad said the same mistakes were committed by the defenders when they conceded easy goals to their opponents like Perak PDRM UITM earlier. He said his team would have to tighten their game for the remaining matches if they hope to play in the 2023 Super League. KUFC are now in 6th spot with 17 points from 12 matches. Four-time Formula One world champion Sebastian Vettel will retire at the end of the 2022 season. The 35-year-old German, who currently drives for Aston Martin, won 4 successive titles from 2010 to 2013 with Red Bull. His 53rd Grand Prix victories place him 3rd on the all-time list behind Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher. In a statement, Vettel said the decision to retire has been a difficult one to take and he had spent a lot of time thinking about it. Vettel joined Aston Martin last season after 6 years at Ferrari, with whom he twice finished runner-up for the world title to Hamilton in 2017 and 2018. He came 12th in 2021 with his new team after achieving just one podium finish. Vettel is 14th in the standings this season. Wrapping up the news at 10, in our top story, Dewan Rakyat passes anti-hopping law with 2/3 majority. Join us for more updates at 12:30 p.m. tomorrow. Until then, it's lights out. I'm Berita RTM. Stay tuned to saluran Berita RTM and take care.